You are the first, not the richest, not the most successful by every measure, just the first. The first one in your bloodline to have a number in an account that didn't shrink by the end of the month. And nobody prepared you for what that feels like. Not the money part, the everything else part. Nobody handed you a map. You built it. While you were still lost in it. You know what your parents made. Not because they told you, because you were paying attention. The way your mother paused before saying yes to anything that cost more than $20. The way your father's jaw tightened when the car made a noise. The way the word retirement never fully landed in your house. Not because they didn't want it, because it belonged to a category of things other people had. You absorbed all of it before you were old enough to name it. Money was something you managed, not something you built. And for a long time, that was the only map you had. There was a school trip once. Permission slip. $12, wrong week. You didn't go. You told everyone you didn't want to. You were 9 years old and you were already learning how to protect your parents from the look on their face when they couldn't say yes. You learned not to ask. Not because they were cruel, because the look on their face when you asked was worse than not having the thing. That look taught you more than any classroom ever did. It taught you that wanting more was dangerous, that ambition was something other people had, that the correct posture for someone in your position was gratitude for what you had, not hunger for what you didn't. You had a magazine once, houses, cars. You believed the ceiling was invisible because nobody ever pointed at it. Nobody had to. You just kept growing until you hit it. And then you stopped growing, because that's what everyone around you had done. That's what you were supposed to do. But something was wrong. You could feel it before you could name it. This low-grade static in your chest that wouldn't go away. It happens quietly, no ceremony. No moment where someone hands you a certificate that says you are now in a different category. You just cross. Maybe it's the first time your savings account has a comma in it. Maybe it's the first time you don't check your balance before saying yes to something. Maybe it's the first time you invest money and don't panic when the market dips. Whatever it is, it arrives on an ordinary Tuesday, and you sit with it alone, because there is nobody to call who would understand what the number actually means. Not because the people in your life don't love you, because they don't have the context. Explaining it would require explaining everything. You go home for a holiday. Same house. Same table that wobbles slightly on one leg. Same television too loud in the background. And you feel it. The gap between where you came from and where you are going, pressing against the inside of your chest the entire time you're there. Nobody mentions it. Nobody has to. You pay for dinner. You say it's nothing. They say you didn't have to. You say you wanted to. A silence follows that exchange that lasts exactly long enough to be uncomfortable. Then everyone moves on. But it happened. And it will keep happening. You start losing people who aren't leaving. Nobody dramatically exits your life. No confrontation. No falling out. Just a gradual drift, like two boats that were once tied together, and someone is quietly, incrementally letting out the rope. Old friends start to treat you differently. Some become quieter around you in a way that feels like self-consciousness. One friend, one you've known since childhood, makes a comment at a dinner that lands wrong. Something that sounds like a joke but carries the full weight of resentment underneath it. You don't address it. He doesn't apologize. You both pretend the moment passed cleanly. You don't call each other as often after that. The guilt is the one nobody talks about, not the abstract guilt of having more. Something more specific and harder to shake. Watching your mother still worry about money when you could write a check tomorrow that would end that worry forever. And not knowing how to do it without changing something irreversible between you. So you find smaller ways. You pay for the flight. You cover the dinner. You fix the thing before it becomes a crisis. Here is what nobody tells you about being the first. You don't just carry your own financial future, you carry theirs too. Not because anyone asked you to, because you cannot unknow what you now know about how money moves. And you cannot watch the people you love not know it without feeling responsible for the gap. Your mother still worries about money. You could write a check tomorrow that would end that worry forever. But you don't know how to do it without changing something irreversible between you. The dynamic, the balance, The way she still feels like the one who takes care of you, even when the numbers say otherwise. So you find smaller ways. You pay for the flight. You cover the dinner. You fix the thing before it becomes a crisis. You become the infrastructure of a family that didn't know it needed one. You become the one they call, not just for the financial questions, for everything. Advice, decisions, problems. You are somehow the authority now, which is both a strange gift and an impossible responsibility. Because you are still figuring yourself out. You are still new at this. You just look stable from the outside. In the rare moments when you are completely still, early morning before the day has demands, you feel it. All of it. By 32, you have something no one in your family has ever had. Not just money. A structure. A Roth IRA that has been compounding since you were 23. A rental property that cash flows $600 a month. An emergency fund that means the car breaking down is an inconvenience, not a catastrophe. You know what a 1031 exchange is. You know what depreciation does to your taxes. You know the difference between an asset and a liability. Not theoretically, physically. This knowledge did not come from your house. It came from books you read alone at night, from mistakes that cost you real money, from years of being the only person in every room you grew up in asking these questions. Your net worth at 32, $340,000. Your parents' net worth at 32, you don't know exactly, but you know the kitchen table. You know the Sunday night cash counting. You know what that number probably was. The distance between those two numbers is not intelligence. It is not luck. It is not even entirely discipline. It is access, information, and the specific hunger of someone who decided the ceiling their parents hit was not going to be the ceiling they accepted. You are the first, which means your children will not have to be. That is the whole point. That was always the whole point. You think about what you will give them, not the money, the language, the conversation at the kitchen table that you never got. The Roth IRA opened on a Sunday when they turn 18. The index fund explained before they have a reason to need it. The emergency fund built before the emergency. You want to give them security. You don't want to give them the version of security that becomes its own kind of prison. The kind that removes all friction, all hunger, all understanding of what things cost. You want them to have the foundation without losing the fire. You don't know how to do that yet. You are figuring it out in real time. The way you have figured out everything. Your family looks at you differently now. There is pride in it. Genuine, chest-swelling pride that moves you every time you see it. But there is also something else. A subtle shift in the dynamic that nobody asked for and nobody wanted, but that happened anyway. You are the first, which means you have no map. No one in your family can tell you how to hold this, how to pass it on, how to make sure it outlasts you. The wealth stops at one generation unless you build the architecture to carry it forward. And nobody taught you architecture. You are building the blueprint and living in the building at the same time. You are the first, not the richest. Not finished, not certain about everything that comes next. Just the first. And the first is the only one who has to figure it out without a map. Everyone after you gets the map. You built it. While you were living in it. While you were still lost in it. While nobody was watching. That is what being first actually costs, and that is what it builds.